Hi, and welcome to the Eric Erb Show live on anchor.fm. It's the Eric Erb Show live. You can find me online at theericerbshow.com and find me on twitter.com/the Eric Erb Show. And of course, this program is brought to you by anchor.fm. Anchor lets you have your free podcast and supplies you with all the tools you need to get started on your podcasting episodes in your podcasting career. That's anchor.fm. Now let's get into the news. I see something very disturbing. I'm reading an article today via naturalnews.com. Naturalnews.com is where the article is. Mike Adams, that runs the company there, the Health Ranger Mike Adams, very good guy, very credible guy. Knows his shit. He knows his shit very well. Knows food science. He knows diseases, different things like that. I mean, he's a specialist in those different areas, and he understands disease. What I'm reading here via naturalnews.com is they got one of their main articles printed today, on Tuesday rather. The coronavirus cover-up begins. China's now threatening users with up to 7 years in prison for reporting on the pandemic. The news and news stories of the coronavirus. So China's threatening social media users with up to 7 years in prison for reporting the pandemic. News doesn't want you to know. At least the China news does not want you to know. That's scary. The coronavirus infection, according to what the Chinese is saying, the numbers coming out of China, and we all know a lot of officials, health officials and different things like that in Hong Kong are saying the exact opposite. Matter of fact, the numbers are probably doubled or tripled. They're saying about 30% in one day in mainland China. U.S. officials are rolling out right now, and in reference to China, rolling right along with this. They're going through and they're lying about the numbers because, again, the United States is working with the Chinese media on this particular instance where they're rolling out the numbers. They're agreeing with these lies that the Chinese are coming out with. The Chinese are telling everybody, oh, they're saying a couple hundred people are dead. No, that's not the case at all. This coronavirus doubles exponentially every 24 to 48 hours. I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. And there is panic in the Chinese government, all the way up to President Xi Jinping over in China. There is panic because this is a pandemic, okay? They're not saying it. They're saying all is well, enjoy the Chinese New Year, blah, 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 blah. This has the number of fatalities to the coronavirus that's already surpassed those. The coronavirus has already surpassed those is SARS. We had the SARS virus there about 8 or 10 years ago, whatever it was. The SARS virus spread all over the place. Now you have the coronavirus. This has more than surpassed the SARS virus, and the SARS was very, very deadly. Hundreds of commercial flights continue still going back and forth through China, through the large cities in China and around the world, New York, London, Los Angeles, Toronto, all the big cities around the world. Nobody knows if them people are infected. I know I seen another article. They were evacuating most of the people in the government, in the federal government of the United States, anybody and everybody or U.S. citizens over in China that was working, they've already evacuated them. That plane was diverted to California, I believe to Riverside, California, to the Air Force Base in Riverside, California. They don't want that plane to land in a traditional airport. Why? Because those people even it doesn't matter if they're Americans or whatever. The disease does not give a shit what culture or where you are, or what you are, what color your skin is. The disease has a incubation period of about 14 days, give or take. Okay, depending on a person's body size and weight. Okay, it depends on how the disease is going to affect you. You might be a carrier for the disease, but you might not be infected. Believe it or not, I do say that. There are very rare cases where you could have the coronavirus, not know it, pass it on to somebody. Somebody 2 or 3 weeks later gets it and dies, but you don't get it. You might have been the carrier. That's very likely and very possible. Will it happen in all cases? Absolutely not. This coronavirus, there's no signs. Again, after the 14-day incubation period, in other words, like a 14 days before the thing starts actually coming out and the disease starts grabbing you, there is the sore throat, there's the fever, and then after that, the coughing, obviously. And you're, like I said before, just like with pneumonia, signs of pneumonia, the lungs start to fill up with fluid, and it's just like, imagine being underwater, even though you're not underwater, but your lungs are drowning. And again, if you don't get air to your lungs, obviously you're going to fucking die. I mean, it's just that simple. So again, now China is threatening to their social media, anybody and everybody, social media users in China, with up to 7 years in prison. This is what concerns me. Of course, Chinese being and people like to argue with me, but Chinese basically being a dictatorial society. Okay, they elect one president. He's going to stay there till he basically dies. Okay, this is what the deal is. He's going to tell them people what to do, how to do it, how to think. There's already a social media credit score that they have in China, and most or all the big cities now, where they track you. You don't have X amount of social media credit scores, you can't travel. Pretty soon you won't be able to buy. It's already the mark of the beast. And I know people are like, oh, there you go, Eric, with your conspiracies and bullshit. No, this is very true. It's a dictatorial society. The poor people of all of China are totally controlled from start to finish. Whatever they think, whatever they say, they're totally controlled. They don't have a free mind over there in China. I've always said before, Chinese is a good duplicator. They can duplicate things, but they're not a good innovator like some folks around, say, for example, like the United States. We can create our own new stuff and totally brand new. Then the rest of the world will follow. It's like that in Israel. It's like that in Japan. Once in a while, Russia. There's a few countries around, sometimes in the UK, of course, or Canada. There's a few countries still left in the world that are very good innovators. But Chinese is not an innovator. They copy things. They're a duplicator. They're not an innovator. They don't come out with a lot of original stuff. Normally everything that they come out with, a lot of times, at least this day and age over the last 30 to 50 years, is because they've either acquired something, acquired a patent, or stole some information. And that's what they're saying. Speculation is that the coronavirus, the patent on that was actually up in Canada, and Chinese spies somehow managed to steal the patent, the design and patent, and they stole the coronavirus patent from the Canadians. Now, that's not been substantiated, but that's what one of the stories running that I've been reading lately is. So again, the Chinese are threatening social media users 7 years in prison if they post anything about this coronavirus. And it's very sad. It's very depressing. The poor people over there in China. I don't even know what to say. I know that it was going to get bad, but it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And unless we as a world, as a nation, at least here in the United States, come together, and we have to take precautions. We might have to close down everything, close down the airports, close down everything, and don't let people in. And the people that are here already, people get checked, that people get treated. We might have to go on a lockdown mode at some point in time ourselves. Do I see this in the United States, the way people are, and they're bitching about their rights and bitching about this, bitching about that? Possibly, but again, it just depends on how bad the virus spreads. We have containment policies and procedures here in the United States that's the best in the world, okay? We have the equipment, we have the decontamination equipment, we have the decontamination suits, the equipment, the boots, the mask, everything that is required, plus the processes here in the United States and all of our heavy containment labs, the CDC and different things like that. And we understand things probably a hell of a lot better than they do in China. But I really worry about this because they're only saying there's 5 or 6 cases of this coronavirus here in the United States. I actually think it's doubled and tripled because, again, Chinese New Year, they're saying, 4 or 5 million Chinese just split right before they started locking everything down. Split, poof, gone, left the country. So you have these 5 million people, again, as I said this yesterday, just like cockroaches spreading all over the place. They're everywhere in every country. I'm sure somebody has a relative that's Chinese. They're visiting in every country around the world. So this is therefore these people, a good person, not everybody, a good percentage of them could possibly, and I say possibly, be contaminated. And so they spread that disease all over. Can it be stopped? Yes, it can. Will it take out maybe hundreds of thousands? It could very well be. Could it even take out millions of people? Absolutely, there's that potential. There is that potential. A lot of the elites, Bill Gates being number one, he would love to see depopulation, and Bill Gates, George Soros, just to name a few. There are a lot of these elite, sick-ass bastards that would love to kill off a couple million or maybe even a couple 100 million people around the world, maybe even a couple billion people, because they think the world is overpopulated, and they think that it is overpopulated. They, not God, they would decide your fate. And I would say, who the hell are you bastards to decide the fate of humanity? And that's just it. Who the hell are you? I know who they are. They're nothing but the devil, these evil people. And yeah, Soros is given to this organization, mostly radical left Democrats, and Bill Gates given to this, the Bill and Melinda Gates charity and charitable organization and foundation and all this bullshit. But it's all just smoke and mirrors. Underneath that lies a pure evil with these two gentlemen. And there's many, many, many hundreds of thousands of elites all around the world that believe the same bullshit. We have to end up killing half the population, or 3/4 of the population rather, in order to save the rest of the planet. It's scary. It's scary. And it seems like right now we're on track, at least in China, the most biggest populated, heavily dense populated country in the world, which is China, with over 1 billion people. It started right there, right now. Let me know what your thoughts are. Like, share. I would love to have you as a subscriber. Please like, share, subscribe. You can find me on anchor.fm, The Eric Erb Show Live. And of course, I'm on twitter.com/The Eric Erb Show. And then, of course, my main website, TheEricErbShow.com. This is Eric Erb signing off.